Hey there! Every month, Annie has a call with our Path 365 members and answers their questions. She tackles a wide range of topics from what to do with big emotions, what kinds of tips and advice she has for addressing difficult situations, how to deal with cravings, and so much more. Listen in as she does some real-life coaching for our Path members.
What's the best way to approach whether or not I should tell my mom, who is a recovering alcoholic, about my own journey with becoming alcohol-free?
So what I would say is that in the second half of the path, there's so much work on the inner work of why you're drinking to begin with. And so, for example, like the very critical family, the fear of judgment, the not knowing how to relate to your mom on something that should be such a celebration, like all of those are things that work will really help you sort of unwind and untangle and have kind of a new lease on how you might want to have a conversation with her. I will tell you ahead of time that a pre-frame and a radically connected, but radically differentiated, meaning you're going to be fully yourself. You're going to kind of tell her what's true for you, but with a huge pre-frame of like, I'm so happy what worked for you. I'm so blah, 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 like all of that stuff. Like there's language we can like put around you telling her your truth. It's like bookends, right? A big pre-frame of appreciation and love and connection, a center of this is true for me. This is where I am. And, to be honest, I don't want like really whatever you do or don't want. And then kind of a bookend of much more love and appreciation. And so there's language we can put around that conversation. But a lot of those tools are going to help you to undo the triggers inside of you so that you feel like, so say she lectures you. And you can just watch her and be like, wow, because this is what happens, you guys, is like when you're able to watch your own brain, especially in relationship to something like alcohol, and watch how it tugs at you and watch how it creates fear and watch how it creates comparison and watch how you're like, oh, I feel like I'm behind because everybody else is ahead. And you watch all of this stuff and your brain, before you get any awareness of it, feels like that stuff is gospel truth, right? Like that's just true. I just am failing at this. I just am behind. I just like, and it feels so true, but you get a little distance watching yourself in drinking. All of a sudden you can start to watch yourself in interactions with others, and you can watch yourself and you can watch your mom. And so what that looks like is, so she's lecturing and you're hearing it. And you might have some defensive feelings arise, but you also are going to be having like wow, she's showing me exactly who she is. And there's nothing right or wrong about who she is. It's just fascinating. And actually, I don't need to defend myself because I know that who she is doesn't actually mean anything about who I am. And so those tools and those skills, like they just, number one, they're in a lot of the content, but number two, they just happen very naturally when we start to watch and observe our own brains. Because the best place to be, and we teach on this in Live Naked, but it's this idea of differentiation. And it's this ability to be, so if you think of a cell in a body, all right? So a cell in a body has a membrane around the cell that keeps it its own cell. And if the cell was separate from the body, if it was cut off from the body, it would die. But if the cell's membrane was punctured to where it like other cells became enmeshed with it, it would also be very, very sick. And that actually is some diseases when that happens, right? And so we as human beings are like cells. You don't want to cut off from your mom. You don't want to be in a situation where you're like, oh, because that's anxiety inducing. That's very painful. But you also don't want to be enmeshed where what she thinks and believes is what you think and believe. And you're already doing that so beautifully by showing up and being here. So I'm going to ask a question. Does it feel more peaceful to you to have this conversation now or in 6 months from now? So yeah, I would say just take a little time with it and just allow that. And just keep in mind that the goal for you is going to be that idea of differentiation. And differentiation, and there's a really good book on this. If you want to dig into this, it's probably one of the most powerful books for this. It's called Extraordinary Relationships. And it's by Roberta Gilbert. It's a theoretical book about the theory, but I really like something like that because it's very practical. But it's on family systems theory by Dr. Murray. And it's about this idea of differentiation. And differentiation is being able to be fully self and fully connected. So you're still a whole self. You're still a fully intact cell in the body that's healthy, but you're also still in the body. And like, that is the place of the most connection and the least anxiety. And it takes time and language. And there's a lot of good practical tips in this book. But I teach some concepts further on in the path as well. And so that will be, and it's like, if it feels more peaceful for you to talk later, then that's for sure. I would just say, give yourself the time, and congratulations.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you're ready to see how This Naked Mind can help you on your personal health and wellness journey and want to learn more, go to thisnakedmindpodcast.com to learn what your next best step is. Again, that's thisnakedmindpodcast.com. We have all of our free resources, programs, social links, and more available for you there. Plus, if you have your own naked life story to share, you can submit it there as well. Until next week, stay curious.